The lights came up at 0300 again, white and surgical, and Kellen Mackinnon watched through the one-way glass as the clanner's eyes opened before the ceiling panel had finished brightening. No flinch, no squint, just a slow, deliberate lift of eyelids, as if the prisoner had been waiting in the dark, counting the seconds, which he almost certainly had. 41 days now, 41 mornings of this same small defiance. Kellen pressed her thumb against the rim of her cold coffee and felt the ceramic bite back. Somewhere above them, 3 levels up, a courier was waiting with orders she had not yet read. Somewhere across the inner sphere, a war was being lost. And in the cell in front of her, a man who should have begged for death was instead folding his gray prisoner's blanket into a perfect square. She still did not know why. The black site had no name on any federated Commonwealth manifest. It existed on a moon nobody visited, inside a mountain nobody had surveyed, under a command structure that answered only to the Intelligence Secretariat, and, through 2 intermediaries, to the Archon herself. Kellen had been stationed here for 3 years. She had broken a Combine sleeper agent in 11 days, a Capellan Maskarovka handler in 19, and a renegade Comstar adept in a single long afternoon that she preferred not to remember. She was 38 years old. She had a bad left knee from a catapult ejection over Twycross, and she had never, in her career, failed to open a man. The clanner was going to be the first. His name, according to the dog tag equivalent stitched into the lining of his captured neuro helmet, was Star Captain Vane Pride of Clan Jade Falcon. Trueborn, Sibco tested, command credentialed. He had been captured on Twycross adjacent space, not on Twycross itself, which was already the first of many small wrongnesses. A Jade Falcon Star Captain did not get captured in the corridor between systems. He got captured in his cockpit on a battlefield, surrounded by the wreckage of the enemies he had taken with him. Vane had been found alive inside a powered-down Timberwolf Prime in a forest clearing on a planet the clans had no strategic interest in, with his cockpit hatch already unsealed, his sidearm already unholstered and placed on the control console, and his hands already laced behind his head. He had surrendered, not Bachar bargained, not fought to the last shell. Surrendered. The word had come through the interrogation staff like a bad smell. Kellen set down the coffee, picked up her tablet, and walked the 18 paces to the interview room. The guards nodded. The lock cycled. She stepped inside. Vane was already seated at the bolted steel table in his gray coveralls, wrists loose in the restraints, shoulders squared. He was enormous, not cartoonishly so, not one of the elemental caste, but tall and dense in the way Trueborn mech caste came out of the vats, every muscle engineered and drilled to purpose. Dark hair cut close, eyes a pale, unsettling green, a faint scar running from the corner of his mouth toward his jaw. An old one, probably from a circle of equals. He looked at her without hostility and without interest, which was worse than either. "Good morning, Star Captain." "It is morning by your measure," Vane said. His clan accent had that strange, archaic precision, every consonant chiseled. It is neither good nor bad. It simply is. The room is yours, Agent Mackinnon. She sat. This was the ritual. Day 41 of the ritual. "I've brought tea today," she said, and set the thermos between them. "Assam, you mentioned last week that the clans do not drink tea. I did not mention it. You inferred it, and I did not correct you. A distinction. All distinctions are the only distinctions that matter." Kellen poured 2 cups. Vane did not reach for his. "He never did. The Archon's office sent me orders last night," she said. This was a lie. The orders were waiting upstairs, still sealed, but she wanted to watch his face. "They want to move you to a formal exchange. Your clan has offered 3 of our MechWarriors and a company-grade officer for your return." Sakan Chistu signed the offer himself. Vane's expression did not change. This, too, was the ritual. But she had been watching him for 41 days, and she had started, in the last week, to notice the smaller tells. The tells beneath the tells. The ones he had not been trained to suppress, because no clan interrogator had ever thought to look for them. There was a tightening, very small at the base of his throat. A subvocal swallow. He had heard the name Chistu, and something inside him had flinched without moving. "I will refuse the exchange," he said evenly. "You've refused every exchange. I will continue to do so. Why? Because it does not please me to return." She sipped her tea. She let the silence pool. Silence was her first and best weapon. Most men, even trained men, could not bear silence for long. They rushed to fill it. Vane did not. Vane sat in silence the way a stone sat in water. She had, in her first week, run a session of 73 minutes, in which neither of them had spoken. He had not fidgeted. He had not broken sweat. He had, at the end of it, asked her politely whether their time was concluded. But today, she had decided she would try something new. "Star Captain, I'm going to stop asking you why you surrendered." He blinked once. That was a tell she had never seen before. "I'm going to stop asking you why you refuse exchange, why you refuse isorla, why you refuse ransom. I'm going to stop because I don't think you're going to tell me, and I don't think any amount of pressure I apply is going to change that. I've been at this a long time. I know when a man is being stubborn, and I know when a man has already decided. You decided before I ever walked into this room." She leaned back. She watched. "So instead, I'm going to tell you what I think, and you can correct me, or not. That's your choice." A long pause. Then, quietly, Vane said, "Speak, then. I think you didn't surrender to us." The tightening at his throat again, slightly more pronounced. "I think you surrendered to the only people on that planet who were not trying to kill you. I think someone in your clan, someone close, someone you trusted, tried to have you killed. And the cockpit of an inner sphere holding cell was the safest room you could find. I think every day you sit in here alive, is a day they've failed. And I think the exchange offer terrifies you, because the moment you step onto a neutral landing field, you're dead before you take 3 steps. Vane said nothing. His face had become perfectly still. Kellen felt her pulse lift and forced it back down. "Tell me I'm wrong, Star Captain." Another silence, longer this time. The overhead light hummed. Somewhere in the ventilation, a fan clicked on and off. Finally, Vane said, "You are a competent analyst, Agent Mackinnon. That isn't a denial." "No," he said. "It is not." She let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. 41 days. 41 days of nothing. And now this small cracking. This one admission. She wanted to push. She knew better than to push. She picked up her tea, sipped it, set it down. "We can talk about something else," she said. "Yes," he said. "Let us." They talked for an hour about the Sipkos, about the training compounds on Ironhold, about the way the Jade Falcon clan ran their genetic rosters, which blood names were ascendant, which were in decline. Vane spoke freely about the formal structure. None of it was classified. All of it was indoctrination doctrine that any clan warrior would speak of as proudly as a Lyran noble spoke of his ancestors. But Kellen listened not to the content, but to the pattern of the content. She was mapping, in the negative space of his answers, the shape of what he would not say. When she rose to leave, he said, "Agent Mackinnon." She paused. "The Assam was adequate," he said. "Bring it again tomorrow, Quialf." "Af," she said, and the clan word felt strange in her mouth. She thought she saw the ghost of a smile on his scarred lip. Then the door cycled shut behind her, and she was back in the corridor, and her hands were shaking just a little. She did not read the orders from upstairs until she had reached her office. She locked the door behind her, sat down at her desk, and broke the seal. The orders were from Loki, Lyran military intelligence, the hard end of the Archon's black service, the only authority that outranked her own within the walls of this facility. They were brief. Star Captain Vane was to be prepared for transfer in 96 hours. A prisoner exchange had been negotiated at the highest level. The clan had accepted terms that were, the memo noted, extraordinarily generous. The handoff would take place on the neutral world of outreach, under Wolf's Dragoon's supervision, in accordance with standard neutral diplomatic protocol. Kellen read the memo twice. She read it a third time. Then she set it face down on her desk and stared at the wall. 96 hours. They had signed his death warrant, and they did not know it. She needed proof. She needed to know who inside the Jade Falcons had tried to kill him, and why, and whether Vane would give her enough of the story in the next 4 days to stop a transfer that the Archon's own people had signed off on. Because Loki did not reverse orders for an interrogator's instinct. Loki reversed orders for intelligence. Hard, verifiable intelligence. The kind that could be put in a report and sent up the chain and moved across a desk that mattered. She had 4 days to break him. 4 days to do what 41 had not done. She went back down. "You are early," Vane said when the door cycled open at 1400. He was standing by the far wall, performing the small isometric exercises he did to keep his muscles from wasting. He did not stop when she entered. "Sit down, Star Captain." Something in her voice caught him. He turned, studied her, and then, without argument, sat. "Your exchange has been approved," she said. 4 days, outreach, Wolf's dragoons as witnesses. For a long moment he did not breathe. "I refuse," he said. "You can't refuse. The decision has been made above me. Under your Ares conventions, I am a prisoner of war. I know your laws, Agent Mackinnon. They state I have the right to refuse repatriation if I have a credible belief that I will be killed upon return. You do, and you'll have to prove that credible belief to a Loki review officer in the next 72 hours, or you'll be loaded onto a dropship regardless, and they won't take your word. They'll want names, dates, a conspiracy they can verify through their own channels. And if I give those names," Vane said slowly, "the clan will know I gave them. And the review officer will not protect my kin, and everyone I have ever loved, such as a Trueborn loves, will be purged. Then we're at an impasse. We were always at an impasse, Agent Mackinnon." She sat down opposite him. She folded her hands. "Star Captain, I am going to say something to you that I would be shot for saying in any other room in this building. I am going to say it because I have done this job long enough to know when someone is telling me the truth sideways, and I have been listening to you tell me the truth sideways for 41 days. He waited. Whatever is happening inside your clan, it is bigger than you, isn't it?" Vane's pale green eyes did not leave hers. "If it were only about me," he said, "I would have died on that field and considered myself well spent. I am not important. I was never important. A Star Captain is one of thousands. No, it is not about me. It is about what I know. And what I know, Agent Mackinnon, is a thing that will not be believed by your people, because they have already constructed a story about mine that does not leave room for it. Try me." He looked at her for a very long time. Then he said, "Do you know who Nicholas Kerensky was? The founder of the clans, son of the general. You will hear me recite a catechism. Listen to the catechism, and listen also to the silences inside it. Nicholas Kerensky gave us the canon. He gave us the hidden hope doctrine. He gave us the batch-all and the trial of possession, and the circle of equals. He gave us isorla. Above all, he gave us the first and most sacred law of our war-making, which is this, that the clans will fight to reclaim the inner sphere, but they will not destroy what they intend to rule. No weapon of mass destruction. No orbital bombardment of civilian targets. No biological or chemical agent. No nuclear fire. These are the instruments of the Amari's abomination, and no true Kerensky warrior will ever wield them against the people we are destined to save. This is the first oath. This is the oath before every oath. All right, Kellen said. Vane's voice had dropped. Very quiet, very even. There is a warship, he said. It is not on any roster your spies have seen. It does not fly Clan Jade Falcon colors. It flies no colors. It is crewed by warriors of 4 clans in unauthorized alliance, and it carries in its belly a weapon that Nicholas Kerensky would have burned his own bloodline to prevent. Kellen felt the air in the room change. What weapon? She said. I will not say it in this room, Star Captain. I will not say it in this room, Agent Mackinnon. Not because I do not trust you, but because the moment I say it, the only leverage I have keeping me alive ends. You will transcribe it. You will send it up. It will be verified or unverified, and in either case, I am a dead man. I will give you this weapon, but I will give it to you when I am certain that I will not be placed on a dropship to Outreach. I can't guarantee that. Then we will sit here, and I will drink your tea, and in 4 days I will be killed in transit, and you will never know what I know, and your inner sphere will learn the truth only when the first city burns. Kellen stared at him. A city, she said. Cities. Eventually. Planets, if they are not stopped. Stopped by whom? By anyone who is not yet stopped themselves. She stood up. She walked to the door. She paused with her hand on the cycle plate. What do you want from me? She said, without turning. Buy me time, Vane said. Delay the transfer. Make them doubt. You are clever. You have been clever for 41 days. Be clever for 4 more. Give me 4 more days, and I will give you the ship, the name of the fleet that birthed it, and the names of the warriors who broke Kerensky's oath to build it. I will give you enough to burn them all. Why should I believe you? He looked up, and for the first time in 41 days, she saw something in his face that was not stone. It was grief. Old, quiet, unornamented grief. The grief of a man who had already buried something that mattered. Because I was supposed to pilot it, he said. She walked out. She did not sleep that night. She sat at her desk, with the Loki memo in one hand and a blank report form in the other. And she stared at the cursor blinking on her terminal. And she tried to think of a way to frame what Vane had told her, that Loki would not dismiss as prisoner manipulation. There was no way. She had been given no names, no dates, no coordinates. She had been given an assertion that a clan warship existed, which could not be corroborated by any inner sphere source, because no inner sphere source had ever heard of it. Loki would laugh. Loki would sign the transfer. Loki would get Vane killed, and with him, the only living witness to something Kellen could now feel breathing down the back of her neck every time she closed her eyes. At 0400, she wrote a request to her section head, asking for a 72-hour extension on Vane's interrogation, citing emergent indicators of high-value strategic intelligence not yet fully developed. She sent it. She waited. At 0710, the The reply came back. Denied. Transfer schedule confirmed. Do not contact this office regarding Subject Vane again without Colonel Haas's express authorization. Colonel Haas. The name sat oddly in her chest. Haas was her superior's superior. A Loki man with a reputation for cold hands and colder decisions. She had met him twice. He had not impressed her, but he had the authority to cancel the transfer, and she did not. She requested a meeting. She was granted 15 minutes that afternoon at 15:30. Before the meeting, she went back down to see Vane. I need more, she said, as soon as the door sealed. I need something I can put in front of a Loki colonel in 3 hours, or you're gone. Vane studied her face. Something in it must have told him the truth of the clock. Ask me questions, he said. Specific ones. I will answer what I can. I will refuse what I must. The warship. What class? McKenna class. Refit. Impossible. The McKennas are SLDF era. Indeed. The hull was one of the Exodus ships. It was thought lost in a transition accident in 2007-84. It was not lost. It was hidden by a small faction that even then was planning for what they called the Reckoning. 4 clans, you said. I will not name them yet. 1. Vane hesitated. Then he said, Smoke Jaguar. Kellen's jaw set. The Smoke Jaguars. The most brutal of the Crusader clans. The ones who had glassed Edo on Turtle Bay. The ones every Inner Sphere analyst named when they wanted to describe the clan invasion at its worst. If any clan would break Kerensky's oath, it was them. Who tried to kill you? A star colonel of my own clan. A Jade Falcon. His name is not important for your colonel. What is important is that he was acting not on behalf of Clan Jade Falcon, but on behalf of a cross-clan body that calls itself, among its initiates, the Steel Viper Circle. Do not be misled by the name. It is not the work of Clan Steel Viper. It is a circle that takes its name from the serpent. Not the clan. Its membership crosses every Crusader bloodhouse. And you were in it. I was being recruited. I refused. That was my era. What weapon? Vane closed his eyes. Not yet, Star Captain. I have 3 hours. Then use them well, Agent Mackinnon. I will give you what I have given you. It will be enough, or it will not. She left. She made it to Colonel Haas's office at 15:28. She had rehearsed her presentation on the lift ride up. She had edited out everything that could be dismissed as speculation. And she had edited out the word weapon entirely because she could not defend it yet. What she had was a name, Steel Viper Circle, and a clan, Smoke Jaguar, and an assertion that a rogue ship crewed across clan lines existed and had been built on a hidden Exodus hull. It was thin. It was not nothing. Haas listened without interrupting. He was a small man behind a very large desk, gray at the temples, and he had the stillness of a man who had long ago stopped being surprised by anything. When she finished, he said, Agent Mackinnon, how long have you been in this service? 14 years, sir. And in 14 years, how many prisoners have told you stories like this? 1. Sir, with respect, Vane has never... How many? Sir, and how often were those stories true? Occasionally, sir. Not often. But the specific, Vane is being moved in 92 hours. The exchange has been negotiated at a level that it is not within my authority to override. And I will be honest with you, Mackinnon. It is not within my interest to try. Do you know what we are getting in exchange for one Trueborn star captain who refuses isorla? 3 MechWarriors and a company officer, sir. 3 MechWarriors and Colonel Anna Lestrade of the 2nd Donegal Guards. Colonel Lestrade is the daughter of a man whose name I will not say in this room, but whose political weight on Tharkard is such that the Archon herself signed this exchange. Are you asking me to tell the Archon that her goddaughter will remain in clan custody because a prisoner told you a story about a ship? Sir, go back to your cell. Do your job for the next 92 hours. Extract whatever intelligence you can. On the 93rd hour, Vane goes. That is the end of this conversation. Kellen walked out of the office with the taste of copper in her mouth. She did not sleep that night either. At 0200, she went to the records office and pulled every file the facility had on the 2784 Exodus transition accident. There was almost nothing. A historical footnote. A single SLDF hull that had been lost in jump. The Nicholas's Hope, a McKenna-class battleship that had not emerged from its scheduled arrival point and had been presumed destroyed by a misjump. No wreckage had ever been recovered. The file had not been opened in 19 years. Nicholas's Hope, a name that no clansman would have invoked lightly, a name that, if Vane was telling the truth, had been taken by a faction that wanted to invert everything the name once meant. At 0400, she put in a flash request to her counterpart in Combine Intelligence, a man named Ishi Kuroda, with whom she had traded minor courtesies across the decade, asking whether the Draconis Combine had any recent unsourced ELINT on a warship operating outside normal clan command structure. She did not expect a reply. A reply came in at 0640. Kuroda's message was 3 sentences. We have been watching a ghost. We have not named her because we did not believe her. Tell me you have named her. Kellen sat back in her chair. She wrote back, McKenna class, refit, Exodus-era hull. Call her Nicholas's Hope. Source reports mixed. Clan crew under a faction calling itself the Steel Viper Circle. Smoke Jaguar involvement confirmed at my end. Can you verify? 22 minutes later, Kuroda. We can verify a hull. We cannot verify the faction. We would pay for the faction. Name your price. She did not answer immediately. She stared at the message. She had, in the span of a night, turned a prisoner's unsourced claim into a triangulated sighting. The Combine had eyes on the hull. The hull existed. Vane was not lying about the hull, which meant, probably, he was not lying about the rest. She forwarded the Kuroda exchange to Colonel Haas's office, flagged urgent, with a single line of her own appended at the top. Vane's testimony, corroborated by Combine E-Align, requesting immediate suspension of transfer pending further debrief. Then she went down to see Vane. "The Combine has seen your ship," she said. The moment the door cycled, Vane was standing. He turned slowly. "You found corroboration, unsourced. They've been tracking a ghost hull they couldn't identify. I gave them the name. They want the weapon." "I want the weapon, Star Captain." He was silent for a long moment. Then he sat down heavily, and for the first time since she had met him, he looked tired. Not the patient fatigue of a man waiting out his captors, but the deep exhaustion of a man who had been carrying something alone for too long. "Experimental heavy naval PPC arrays," he said. The phrase meant nothing to her. "What?" "That is the clan designation. I do not know what your people would call it. It is a directed energy weapon of capital scale. While the ship carries standard SLDF heavy naval PPCs, the targeting and ground mount firing arrays are derived from SLDF archival research that was thought destroyed. The Circle recovered the research. They built 3 such arrays. 2 are emplaced on the Nicholas's Hope. The third is a ground mount prototype that is, at the time of my capture, on a planet I will name when I have guarantees. What does it do? It can level a sprawling metropolis and reduce its infrastructure to slag in a single sustained barrage. It can glass a continental capital from orbit before its defenders even know a ship has arrived. It is not Amaris's fire. It is worse. Amaris had to drop rocks. This weapon requires only that the ship be in orbit." Kellen felt her stomach turn. "And the Circle means to use it." "They mean to use it on Tharkad," Vane said. "Or on Luthien. Or on New Avalon. Whichever of your capitals first assembles a defense that threatens the Crusader advance. The Circle has decided that the Kerensky doctrine has failed. That ritual warfare cannot reclaim the inner sphere in a single generation. That the old Khans, Ulrich Kerensky among them, have betrayed the founder by honoring his rules over his mission. They will present the Grand Council with a fait accompli, a capital city glassed, a house broken, a lesson. How many know? Within the Circle, perhaps 50 warriors. Below them, perhaps 300 more who believe themselves to be serving a sanctioned Black Ops program. Above them, I do not know how high it goes. I believe Khan Lincoln Osis of the Smoked Jaguars is at least informed. I believe Sakan Chistu of my own clan is not, but I cannot prove it. Why did they try to kill you? Because I refused the recruitment. Because I said to the Star Colonel who came to me, in those exact words, "I will not be the man who burns a world the Founder told us to save." Because he knew, from that sentence, that I would betray the Circle the first chance I had. He tried to arrange my death quietly. I was warned by a Sibkin. I took my Timberwolf to a neutral contact point. I sat in the clearing, and I waited for your people to find me. You surrendered to us to survive long enough to give us this. I surrendered to you because you were the only people on that planet who would not shoot a star captain on sight. And because, though I would never have said it aloud on the day I did it, I had come to believe that the warriors of the inner sphere were not the abominations my Sibco had been taught to see. I had fought Kai Allard Liao on Twycross. I had watched a Fedcom pilot of no particular distinction refuse to execute his own wounded rather than abandon them. I had begun, Agent Mackinnon, to suspect that Nicholas Kerensky's canon had been written for a sphere that no longer existed, if it ever had. So, you defected. Vane's eyes narrowed. I did not defect. I am not your bondsman. I will not wear your uniform. I am a jade falcon to the last cell of my marrow. But I will not let the circle break the Founder's oath. If the inner sphere must learn of my clan's shame in order to prevent that shame from becoming damnation, then so be it. I will pay the price of being the one who told. She looked at him across the table, and she saw for the first time the full shape of what he had been carrying for 41 days. It was not defiance. It was not cowardice. It was a kind of terrible, lonely honor. The honor of a man who had chosen to betray his people in order to save them, and who had accepted that he would be, in the histories of both sides, remembered incorrectly forever. "Star Captain," she said. "Af, I am going to stop the transfer. You do not have the authority. I don't, but I have Kuroda, and I have a ship the Combine has been hunting for months, and I have a name Colonel Haas cannot ignore, once it is spoken in the right order. I am going to stop the transfer, Vane. I need you to trust me for 70 hours. Vane looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, "I have trusted you for 41 days, Agent Mackinnon. 70 hours will not tax me." She went up. Colonel Haas had read her flagged message. He had summoned her to his office without waiting for her to request a meeting. When she walked in, he was standing behind his desk, and the stillness was gone from him. In its place was something harder, narrower, more alert. "Kuroda is a Combine intelligence officer," he said without preamble. "You routed unsourced prisoner testimony through a foreign service. I routed a verification request through a trusted counterpart. I received a response that corroborates the prisoner's claims. You do not route prisoner intelligence through foreign services, Mackinnon. That is a firing offense. That is, under a hostile review, a treason offense. Sir, sit down." She sat. Haas sat. He steepled his fingers. He looked at her for a long moment. "Tell me the weapon," he said. She told him. She told him about the naval PPCs. She told him about the Nicholas's Hope. She told him about the Steel Viper Circle and the Cross-Clan membership and the plan to glass a capital city. She told him about Vane's refused recruitment and the Star Colonel's assassination attempt and the surrender in the clearing. She spoke for 23 minutes without interruption. When she was done, Haas said, "Christ." Then he said, "The transfer is suspended." Then he said, "You did not route intelligence through Kuroda. That conversation never happened. I will burn the log myself." Sir Mackinnon. If one word of this leaves this building through any channel I do not personally authorize, Vane dies, and so do we. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Go back to your cell. Keep him talking. I need every name. I need every coordinate. I need the third weapon's location by tomorrow. You will have whatever resources you require. You will have, if you need it, the direct ear of the Archon. Do not fail me. No, sir. And Mackinnon, sir, the Archon owes you a debt she will never know about. That is the nature of this work. I am sorry for it. I know, sir. She went down. Over the next 3 days and nights, Kellen Mackinnon and Star Captain Vane Pride of Clan Jade Falcon sat at the small bolted steel table and built, word by word, a map of the conspiracy. Vane gave her names. 11 members of the Steel Viper Circle by rank and bloodhouse. 3 of them senior enough to matter at the Grand Council level. He gave her the coordinates of the hidden dry dock where the Nicholas's Hope was being refitted, a system in the deep periphery that had been scrubbed from every clan database. He gave her the planet where the ground mount prototype was housed, a barely charted rock in the Jade Falcon occupation zone called Huntress by Proxy, which was a name Kellen had never heard, and which Vane explained was an internal Jade Falcon joke she would not find funny. He gave her, on the last night, the name of the Sibkin who had warned him. She is called Tara, he said. She is of the Pride Bloodhouse, like me. She is 15 years old. She is in a training cadre on Ironhold. If the Circle learns I have spoken, they will kill her. Promise me, Agent Mackinnon, that your intelligence services will, at the earliest opportunity, extract her. I don't have the authority. Promise me. She looked at him across the table. She thought about what he had given. She thought about what it had cost him, and what it would continue to cost him every day of the rest of his life, which would be spent in a cell no matter how this ended, because no one on either side of the clan line could allow him to walk free. I promise, she said. He nodded. Once. On the 4th morning, Colonel Haas came down personally. It was the first time a low-key colonel had set foot in the interview wing in Kellen's memory. He sat in the chair she usually occupied. He looked across the table at Vane. Star Captain, he said. I am Colonel Douglas Haas, Lyran Intelligence Corps. I am here to thank you and to tell you what will happen next. Vane inclined his head. Within the hour, a flight of Lyran intelligence assets will break contact with your transfer escort and declare you medically unfit to travel. A cover story has been arranged. Your clan will be told you have died of a cerebral embolism, complicating your concussive injuries. A body will be provided for their examination. It will be genetically matched. Do not ask how. Vane's face did not change. You will remain in this facility under a new name and a new file. You will not be seen by any member of the interrogation staff except Agent Mackinnon. You will have whatever books, exercise equipment, and, within reason, correspondence you wish. You will be, in every meaningful sense, a ghost. I am sorry. It is the only way we can keep you alive. I understand, Vane said. The intelligence you have provided will be actioned. A joint operation is being assembled. Federated Commonwealth, Draconis Combine, and Wolf's Dragoons, coordinated through outreach, to strike the dry dock and the ground mount simultaneously. You will not be named in any report. You will not be credited. Your existence here will be known to perhaps 7 people in the inner sphere. I am one of them. Mackinnon is another. The Archon is a third, Vane said. No, Haas said. It is less. He stood. He looked at Vane for a moment longer, and then he said something Kellen had not expected him to say. Star Captain, the oath you took as a boy in your Sibco, the oath of the Founder, that clans would fight to reclaim, but not to destroy. Do you believe we, in the Inner Sphere, have kept a comparable oath? Vane considered. Then he said, No, Colonel. I do not believe you have. I believe your succession wars broke every law that should have been kept. I believe your houses have among them committed crimes the Founder would have declared unforgivable. Haas nodded. But I also believe, Vane said, that a clan that breaks the Founder's oath becomes no better than the worst of you. And if the choice is between a sphere that has already fallen and a clan that is falling, then I will side with the one that has further yet to fall. Today, that is you. Tomorrow, perhaps, it will not be. I will be watching. Fair enough, Haas said. He turned and walked out. Kellen stayed behind. Vane looked at her. So, he said, the ritual continues. The ritual continues. Will you bring tea tomorrow? I'll bring tea tomorrow. She stood. At the door she paused, and she looked back at him. This enormous, engineered, gene-tailored warrior of a clan that had crossed the stars to reclaim a birthright. Sitting in a cell he had chosen, waiting for a war he would not fight, protecting people who would never know his name. Star Captain Af. Thank you. He did not answer. He only inclined his head. Once, the same gesture he had given Haas, the gesture that in the old clan Sibkos meant acknowledgment between equals. Kellen cycled the door and stepped into the corridor. 3 weeks later, on a morning when the lights came up at 0600 and the facility was quiet, an encrypted packet arrived on Colonel Haas's desk from Wolf's Dragoons Command. It contained the after-action report of a joint strike by Dragoons, Combine and Federated Commonwealth Black Operations Forces against a deep periphery dry dock designated, in the report, Target Alpha. The dry dock had been destroyed. The McKenna-class hull inside it, identified as the Nicholas's Hope, had been destroyed with it. A simultaneous strike on Target Beta, an uncharted planet designated Huntress by proxy, had recovered and neutralized a ground-mount prototype weapon of directed energy capital class. 11 clan warriors identified as members of the Steel Viper Circle had been killed in the operations. 9 more, the report noted, were believed to have been quietly purged within their own clans in the weeks following, by Khans who had been, by channels the report did not name, made aware. At the bottom of the report was a handwritten note. In a script Haas recognized as Hamie Wolf's own. Tell your source the debt is acknowledged. Tell her also that the girl was retrieved. She is safe. Haas, read the note twice. Then he walked down to the interview wing himself, and he gave it to Kellen Mackinnon, and he said, "Give this to him." She took it down. Vane read the note. He read it 3 times. Then he folded it into a perfect square, the same way he folded his blanket every morning, and he set it on the corner of the bolted steel table. "Star Captain," Kellen said. "Af. Are you all right?" He looked up at her. His pale green eyes were wet, very slightly, at the corners, and he did not try to hide it. "I am a Trueborn of Clan Jade Falcon," he said quietly. "I have betrayed my clan to save my clan. I have killed my own kin by word, as surely as if I had killed them by blade. I will sit in this cell until I die, and I will never pilot a Timberwolf again, and I will never stand in a circle of equals, and I will never speak my blood name in the Great Hall on Ironhold. But a girl named Tara is alive, and a city I will never see is not in ashes. And Nicholas Kerensky's oath has been kept one more day. So, Af, Agent Mackinnon, I am all right." Kellen sat down across from him. She poured 2 cups of tea. He reached across the table for the first time in 51 days and took his cup. They drank in silence. Outside, the war went on. The clan invasion ground forward through the corridor worlds, and on Tukaid, months later, Comstar would meet the clans in a battle that would halt the advance for 15 years. Historians of that battle would never know about the Steel Viper Circle, or the Nicholas's Hope, or the experimental heavy naval PPC arrays that had been built in defiance of the Founder's Oath and destroyed before they could be fired. They would never know that the war they chronicled had been, for a moment, one word from a different war entirely. A war of burning cities and boiled oceans, and a sphere reduced in a single generation to ash. They would never know that the word that had not been spoken had been held for 41 days, and then for many years after, by a woman with a bad knee and a ceramic cup of cold coffee, and a Trueborn Star Captain who had chosen a cell. In the cell, Vane set down his cup. "Agent Mackinnon," he said. "Af. Tomorrow. Assam again. Quiaf. Af. Star Captain." The lights hummed. The fan clicked on and off in the ventilation. Somewhere far above them, on a moon nobody visited, inside a mountain nobody had surveyed, the war went on without them, and they were, for this one morning, content to let it. Kellen stood. She gathered the cups. She walked to the door. At the threshold she paused, and without turning she said, "Star Captain. Af. Selah." It was the clan word, the word spoken at the closing of every council, every oath, every trial. She had heard him murmur it once, in his sleep, on the 18th night of his captivity, and she had never spoken it back until now. Behind her, very quietly, Star Captain Vane of Clan Jade Falcon said, "Selah." She cycled the door and stepped into the corridor and went up to file her report.